What you see here is how everything on this project went astray. In order to try to save some money, rather than getting things set up beforehand and ready to go, they poured the right wall on the right side, and you can see from there it's not even straight. It blew out at the bottom, etc. And they've just quickly thrown a bunch of rebar on the ground, not lifted it off the ground with anything, and not put it into the retaining walls as the engineer told Robert it should have done after the fact when I challenged him. You'll see later that on the bottom wall, or bottom ramp, based on all of this stuff, they did do everything right to start with. So basically they tried to cut corners and save a buck, and here we are. So even though on these walls they will have measured the angles, you'll see here that and you can see the line on the one side. Nowhere do they have any kind of apparatus that allows them to correctly angle the concrete away from the house. And you can even see there it's high. You also see that nowhere in here does anybody pull up the rebar. It's all just sitting on the ground. They're just pumping the concrete over. So based on Dudley Trone's input to me as a 30-year plus experienced contractor, without me saying a word, he came up and looked at the ramp and said it sloped the wrong way, and he goes, "You never do that." Was the waterproof membrane put against the house side, which they didn't do? Did they take the rebar and keep it off the ground and stick it into the retaining walls? No. So everything in this section of the tape shows. Now, I showed this tape to Robert. Well, Donnie wasn't here for any of the pour. So for him to say anything about what happened, he wasn't here, and I'm not sure how much Robert was here. Again, you can see everything is just stuck down on the ground. Nothing's been pulled up. They've got no angle measurements or anything to make sure that they angled this thing correctly. I know when this video was shown to Robert, he said there was no question it wasn't done right. And when Robert and I, meaning three of us talked together with Donnie, clearly said this wasn't done right, and Donnie has multiple times over these last 2 years said, "Oh, if that's what you want, Dave, I'll take it out." And then every time when it was time to let's do it, there was always some excuse to, they did it right the first time, it can't be done. So you saw one time there at the very end, somebody attempting to lift it once, but again, you can see there's nothing off the ground, it's just solid on the bottom. So, very frustrating that in hindsight, I didn't catch some of this stuff, but that's the way it goes. So again, they're trying to finish off the concrete, and at this point, Donnie shows up. See him, I believe, in the white shirt there, and the brown shoes I recognize. So everything's been done. He had no way of seeing that they didn't pull up any of the rebar, let alone it wasn't into the thing, because he wasn't here for any of the pours. And now we're discussing to make sure that a rough surface, very rough surface, is put in, which Donnie promised to do, because this is a very steep angle and it needed to be very safe. So here again, his workers had no idea what in the world to do. Everything was being done on the fly. There was clearly no communication and leadership up front from either Donnie, or nowhere is my contractor providing any leadership on stuff. So now you see the ramp when it's done, and at this point it's rough. Unfortunately, when we get the first rain, we find out it's all sloped the wrong way. But at least from roughness, what they did, if everything else would have been right, there wouldn't have been any problems, would have been acceptable. There were no issues going on. It's only after the fact, when they tried to repair stuff, did this rough surface basically disappear between what they added. Now here's the example of the rebar that's been put in correctly. You can see it's punched into the walls, it's lifted off the ground. So after challenging them after the fact, and unfortunately learning more about this, which my contractor should have known, this section and a different crew, this crew was the non-Home Depot crew that knew what they were doing, the ones that normally worked at San Francisco. So what you see here is the ramp where nobody's walked on it yet. Nice and rough. You can see how messed up the wall is in terms of how poor the formings were. Everything is all looks like a, I guess, a wave ocean. The next video here we've got is where it's dried enough such that they've started to walk on the ramp. This is them now trying to fix, rather than do things right the first time, how poorly the ramp was. So here they are chiseling off, which can't do anything for quality, pouring all the stuff on the ramp. As well as this blew out. They didn't put the forms in correctly. So they're pounding this out, trying to flatten it up, which Robert made Donnie do. Here's the coating that they put on the top, which, you know, we're having all different colored concrete everywhere. Since you don't do it right the first time, you don't end up with the same process, unfortunately. Okay, look at the water running against the right side of the wall. It's supposed to have sloped away from the house, and it isn't. Well, we got water down here, which I don't know where that's coming from. Well, we got a low point in the concrete, so it just settles water here. Okay, so here we go again, the water issue. Down here it drains against the wall, but as we go up and look, right up here we start seeing the red line, which I'm assuming is their level or higher from the other side. And over here where it drains toward the house, it's low. And there are places where, like in here, it's probably a good ½ inch to an inch. And we continue to go up and you can see a red line, which means it's low. It's low, so it's tilting toward the house, which is not what it's supposed to be. It was paid for to be tilting away from the house. So you never have any question. Continue to see the red line. It's low as we're walking up, about halfway up now. Some more of the red line here. Again, more of the red line here, we're low. More of the red line, we're just about up to the top. Right about here, oh, there's some more. Only a couple feet. Finally, it's the same. And on the other side, never see any red line. So it's either at it or high. So basically what we got is one side high, one side low. This is what was paid for. Water runs to this side. It's not a monolithic pour. I'm seeing water in the footing down below, which logically seems like it's, again, coming from them not having nice solid concrete up against the wall. What fun. Continuing, what has it been, about a year? Still trying to get these ramps done. So they came out 2 days ago and put on a sealer coat to try to at least make the darn repairs look the same color. We shall see how that goes when it fully dries, but little by little. And we've got new planter boxes over here, where here's our deer resistant bush, which the deer ate. We'll have some irises over here. There's what we got looking from the other side. Here's our color.
Put it on this wall, so we potentially have, see if we end up with one color. And for the rest of the round. Leaves and oak leaves and everything else. Well, here we got their great repair job. 2 months maybe. And the whole thing is coming off. Hasn't been walked on, hasn't had anything on it. Come out 3 days ago and it's completely disintegrated. Well, here is the latest disaster. After what? Second, third, fourth time? Oh yeah, we'll fix the land bridge. And all of it's popped off and at this point and continuing to go. So it's just mind-boggling. Yeah, so here we got the continued mess of the decks all falling apart. Everywhere you look, it's coming apart. More and more and more. So here's what they say is supposed to fix it correctly. So they came out this morning and put an epoxy coating down and then put sand over that for today. We'll come back, keep going, and did it all the way down to the bottom. We shall see. Well, here's what they've done so far that has a real concern in multiple ways. First, the low spots on the left side, so they go and put stuff all the way halfway across and raise the middle, which means in a relative sense they've dropped the left side, so the thing is still sloping big time to the left. But worse than that, it's been 2 days and I come down here and the stuff is already cracking. 2 days. And as I go down, it's crack, and already. So unbelievable. Everything is already, I see cracks starting. It's been 2 days. So I called Robert. So here we are like 2 weeks after they put this pour on. Starting bound thing here. We've got cracks. They go up all the way across. Cracks all the way across. Continues up. Cracks across. Continues up. Cracks across. Continues up. Continues up. Cross, continues up, continues up, continues up, continues. Then it goes back here. We've got this thing is all cracked. This is all cracked. It's all cracked. All the way across. 2 weeks, and it just keeps getting more and more and more. So here we are looking at the ramp. Less than 48 hours after they left for the pour, and if we go down 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, we already have right here a crack forming in the newest pour. And some smaller cracks already up here across. So 48 hours and the first crack is shown up on this material right here. So here we are, day 3 after the pour, and yesterday I documented that 1, 2, 3 we had this crack show up and I saw nothing else, but here we are on day 4 and we've got crack here and the next one down. We've got crack here and the next one down. We got crack here, the next one down. So 1 day later, and that's 3 more, but he got enough 4 of them that are starting to crack. So again, clearly by Arctic saying the product was not meant to be layered, it isn't supported. Here we go, 3 days, 4 sets of cracks. Okay, here we are day 4, and I see the cracks have now gone to steps 10 and 11 relative to the top. So we got 11, 10, and then we've got the ones here that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 5, 4. So we had 4 yesterday, and now we're up to 6. So every day, just crack, crack, crack. So here's the status of the ramp today, January 29, 2012. Over 2 years later, still dealing with this. Basically, you can see from the shininess, which this is dry, but it's wet, but there's basically, compared to how it was done originally, hardly any roughage. And with the top coat that was put on, basically nobody wants to go up and down it because they know it's now going to slip. So bottom line is, based on what they've done, they've taken away all the roughness, they've put material and done things on it now that basically we have a safety hazard here, just waiting for something to happen. Here's a contrast to the bottom ramp, where nothing's been done since they've touched it. It's still nice and rough, no issues. This is how it was supposed to be done up above to start with. So it could be done. They just selected it in the top ramp to use the wrong people, wrong processes, and rather than just taking the concrete out and doing it right like we got them to do down below, we're still battling the up above section. Darn, just noticed that the top of this corner wall moved in about 1/2 inch. So it's no longer straight up and down. There's a big bow here. Guess we'll have to fix that. I know I saw him on the bottom pounding it back in, since it had been moved, but it was perfectly straight when we covered and left. Oh well. And here's what's going on with this lower wall. They poured this thing because they messed up with the concrete. The top layer, over 2 hours from the first pour, which means it had settled. It had bowed out, so they scraped away the top. And now we've got this really funky crack, nothing like all the other ones, where no idea what it means, other than I'm concerned about its long-term longevity.